This is
Cast.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of my Podcast Racing. Today, I'm going to be talking about the very first MCU show on Disney Plus, WandaVision, and I will definitely be getting into spoilers. So, if you have not seen WandaVision yet, then please do not, if you have not seen all the episodes yet, please do not listen to this podcast until after you have finished the show and all of the post-credit scenes too. I believe there are like 5 post-credit scenes in total, most of them being in the finale. So please do not listen to this podcast episode unless you have seen all of WandaVision. And but for the rest of you who have watched WandaVision, let's get into my thoughts, my spoiler-filled thoughts. It's really good. I really enjoyed it a lot. It definitely has some issues and some unfortunate tropes that are in some of the weaker MCU films, but there are a lot of strengths to this show. And the biggest strength of the show, it's Elizabeth Olsen. Elizabeth Olsen is a fantastic actress. I already thought that she was a great actress in some other stuff that I've seen her in, but man, she really shined here. Like there were some moments where I honestly thought that she was Emmy worthy, and Paul Bettany also. Paul Bettany was already a great actor, but he shined a lot in other dramatic and comedic roles. So I'm glad that he was able to flesh out a little bit more of his comedic and dramatic at times, but mainly uh, uh, comedic skills in WandaVision. Speaking of the comedy, though, a critique that I saw from many people is that mainly in the first like 2 to 3 episodes, the jokes were a little bit too amateurish and like childish and sitcom-y. And well, the sitcom criticism is not valid in my opinion because the show is literally modeled off of 50s and 60s and 70s sitcoms. So I mean, come on, yeah. Like if you don't, yeah, and that's another thing. Like if you don't like or have seen those earlier sitcoms, then many of the earlier episodes you probably will dislike, and I get that, but I don't. For me, even though I didn't grow up watching these sitcoms, well, some of them I did grow up watching, but I still have a fondness for them. It is partially I am a little bit biased because there's a partial like nostalgia. I'm not as nostalgic for like these earlier sitcoms as I am for like other stuff like SpongeBob or Avatar or Star Wars or whatever, but I did grow up. I used to like Full House. Now I absolutely despise it, but I used to like Full House. I have seen some Malcolm in the Middle when I was younger, and when I was older, I watched and really liked stuff like Dick Van Dyke Show, Odd Couple. I do like more serious stuff, but I also like silly stuff like these sitcoms. I really like these sitcoms a lot, and what's important is that there was almost a purpose to these jokes. In the well, not all of them. There were some jokes in WandaVision that I will admit weren't that great, and most of them did involve the character of Darcy. I did understand why they brought her back, but I'm fine with them bringing her back. But I wish that they didn't just delegate her to just either saying exposition or saying a joke. Like that was a little bit a bit of weak writing to me. The writing overall I thought was really strong, especially when delving into Wanda's backstory and character. But we'll get into that later. Right now, I'm going to be going through episode by episode of what I thought of each episode. So take a drink every time I say episode. No, but yeah. So basically, I'm gonna go start with episode 1 through episode 9 and talk about each individual episode first, and then I'll delve into more overall pros and cons of the overall show. So the first episode, I really liked it a lot when the Marvel Studios logo changed from color to black and white to the one by one aspect ratio. I really, really liked that a lot. I really liked all of the theme songs, and the sitcom style was really working for me. And yeah, many of the jokes are very corny and cheesy and a bit childish, but it reminded me a lot of these sitcoms that I really enjoyed watching. Now, even though I watched them as an adult and not as a kid, it still brought back a sense of nostalgia and childlike wonder, even though I'm not nostalgic for stuff like Dick Van Dyke Show or Odd Couple, because again, I watched them when very recently when I'm an adult. Like only a couple of years ago, I finally started to watch Odd Couple and Dick Van Dyke. But yeah, I really liked the situations that they got into. It was very like quirky and humorous, and it was very effectively deceptive because like these you're wondering what's going on. I really liked the mystery that WandaVision was unfolding, and but then at the end of each episode, they brought a little bit more of like hinted at what's actually going on, and I really liked the tone of this show. I really liked how almost effortlessly it went from being a comedy to romance to thrills. Like in the first episode, when Vision's boss is and his wife were over for dinner, and then it starts out, very quirky, silly. Oh no, like I thought it was our wedding anniversary, but it's actually the Hart is actually my boss, Mr. Hart, coming over for dinner. I really liked that. But then when Mr. Hart starts choking and Mrs. Hart just starts yelling, "Stop it! Stop it!" I thought that was a really really creepy moment, and it hinted at maybe there's something more sinister and ominous going on, and basically Mrs. Hart not, and then now we know that Mrs. Hart not going herself to save her husband. Now we know that she couldn't because she's under Wanda's control, and Wanda. I do think though that uh, I wish that they had showed a bit more of Wanda. What's it called? Like I do think that they should have showed a bit more of Wanda, like herself, like really like go into her more like of her thought process of why she was controlling these people, how she could justify herself instead of just using that like throwaway line in the final episode where she said like, "No, you guys are safe here." Like I do wish that they delved a bit more into her thought process of this horrific thing that she did, and I do think that she got off a little bit too easily at the end. But again, we'll get into that's in the finale. We'll get into the finale later. Right now, we're just talking about episode one. I really liked how in the first few episodes, they actually brought in a live studio audience. They filmed in black and white. They filmed in the one by one square. Sorry, not one by one, 4:3 square aspect ratio. I really liked how they weren't too heavy on CGI in the first few episodes. They mostly relied on like practical effects and wires, and I thought that was all really cool. And I really liked again the scenarios and jokes mostly worked for me in the first few episodes. But I guess if you haven't grown up or watched these sitcoms, if you're not familiar with the tropes and cliches and style that these like older 50s through 70s 80s sitcoms use, then I guess it might not work for you. I do have a couple of friends who have never seen like Dick Van Dyke, Full House, anything like that, and then but they're fans of and the MCU, and then they go into WandaVision being like, "What the heck is this? I am not liking this at all." So I understand that. Episode two, I really liked that storyline as well. The whole talent show, magic decks kind of thing. I really liked. It was mostly my feelings for that one were mostly the same on episode one, where I thought it was an improvement in terms of like humor, uh, filmmaking, and what they were hinting at overall with that beekeeper helicopter and that incident with the radio at Dottie. I thought all of those brought a great sense of added to the mystery unfolding, and also added some thrills and chills for the overall comedic episode when Vision swallows the gum. And Paul Bettany, like I said before, Paul Bettany really impressed me with his comedic skills, and that was especially so in episode 2 where he's acting all loopy because of the gum. And they also introduced Monica Rambeau as Geraldine in this episode. And now I already knew beforehand, and many of you probably already knew beforehand that Teyonah Parris was cast as Monica Rambeau. So when I saw Teyonah Parris in in episode 2, I was like, oh, Monica's here, but why is she Geraldine? Like, is she just pretending to be Geraldine? Like, is she working for like Sword and snuck in here? And that was kind of the case, but at the same time, not really. But we'll get into more of her character later. So yeah, episode 2. I thought that the beginning was funny when these two like all powerful beings are just hiding in bed and scared of the noise going on outside. But then they do kind of, well, at least Wanda has a reason to be scared of the noise outside because it turns out to be the Sword agents. Well, now as the beekeeper, and at that point she's not ready to go back to reality and dismantle her world yet. So episode 3, I at the time this was my favorite episode. I really liked how now it was getting into color. I liked the 70s aesthetic. The 70s and 80s in particular are 2 decades in terms of the aesthetic and style that I really enjoy. I thought it was hilarious that that what's it called, like the whole pregnancy storyline. And I thought it was funny how no one else really seemed to notice that Wanda was pregnant and then gave birth within the span of like 2 days or something like that. I thought that that was really funny. But at this point, there were people complaining that the story mystery was unfolding a little bit too slowly, and those people were satisfied by episode 4. Many of them saying that that was the best episode yet. Personally, I thought that they revealed a bit too much in episode 4. Episode 4, this is definitely an unpopular opinion, but episode 4 is actually my least favorite episode of the series overall because that episode was solely dedicated to just answers, 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 and they didn't reveal much new stuff. But I did like, though, at the end of the episode when what's it called, when we see Vision's corpse with the hole in his head from when Thanos took the Mind Stone, literally ripped it out of his head. I really liked that at all. I thought that that was really effective and creepy. But overall, episode 4 is my least favorite because it was a bit too exposition heavy. And bringing in Darcy, I do like Kat Dennings, but her character, they really just delegate her character to being either an exposition or a one-liner machine. So I didn't really like that, and episode 4 is my least favorite overall. Episode 5 was, it's not one of the, it's sort of a middle episode for me. I liked it overall, but mainly for that twist at the end with bringing back Evan Peters as fake Pietro, or Pietro, as Agnes calls it. But we'll get into Agnes later. So, oh, and really quickly, I forgot in the previous episode, episode 4, I really like how it was revealed that Monica was taken away with a blip, but while she was gone, her mother Maria died of cancer. I thought that that was really tragic. And also bringing back Jimmy Woo was fine, I guess. They could have brought back anybody really, but I guess I like Randall Park, so I'm glad that he got some more work, and I liked his magic trick. But my favorite aspect of the previous episode, episode 4, which again is my least favorite episode overall, I really liked how they sort of delved into Monica's character a little bit and revealed that horrific thing that happens with her mom dying while she was taken away during the blip. But so yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. I forgot to bring that up with episode 4 before, but now back to episode 5. Fake Pietro is really cool, and what's it called? It was really cool bringing Evan Peters back. But overall, this was a very middle episode for me. It's not one of my least favorite episodes, but it's not also not one of my favorite episodes. It's just very much in the middle for me. I did like that the her children grow up from 5 years old to 10 years old within the span of like a few hours, and Agnes doesn't notice. And that was actually a hint that Agnes was the one behind all this, which many of you, including me, I guess, were suspecting all along. At this point, I was it was funny, but at this point, this sort of confirmed my suspicions that there is more to Agnes than meets the eye, and the fact that they cast Catherine Hahn, who is a somewhat notable actress now. What by casting her, I'm like, okay, there's definitely something going on with her. She does know more than meets the eye. Although it was cool, it was sort of a cool uh, distraction, I guess, for lack of a better word, in the next episode when Vision supposedly brings her back. Like, she's not under Wanda's hypnosis anymore, but it turned out that she was actually faking it. But we'll get into that later. So, episode 5, yeah, it was a good episode overall, not great. I did thought that it was really effective though when he was able to get into Norm's head. I think that's his name, Norm. That one guy who he starts like who starts freaking out when Vision brings it back to reality. The whole subplot with the dog, it was fine, I guess. Again, it was fine. Hayward really pissed me off in this episode and in the finale, but we'll get into the character of Hayward later. But yeah, not too much to say about this episode besides the twist at the end with fake Pietro. So going into the next episode, the Halloween Spooktacular episode. So this is my favorite episode. Actually, no, sorry. This is my second favorite episode of the show overall. I really liked Vision in this one, especially at the end when he's trying to break out of that world, and he's trying to, or he's reaching out to Hayward and the other like sword agents for help, and he's like, the people need help, and I thought it was really admirable of how he's breaking apart, but he's still trying to help all these people. I really liked that a lot. I really liked Evan Peters in this entire episode. I thought that he was absolutely hilarious, and I thought that it was cool how Wanda and Vision's Halloween costumes, are very reminiscent of their actual looks as Scarlet Witch and Vision. I thought that Darcy in this episode was again fine. Jimmy fine. Didn't bring in a huge like it didn't have a big like impact on me in terms of like humor entertainment. They were just fine. But I did like Darcy, how they used her in the next episode. I thought it was cool how the boys now have powers, and Billy sensing that Vision's disintegrating, and Wanda responds to that by expanding that world in which she created over Westview. Oh, and fake Pietro saying that it's not like your husband can die twice, right? I thought that was really like, oh my gosh. But yeah, this is my second favorite episode overall in terms of like how entertaining it is, in terms of how it expands, expands, get it? Because Wanda expands. Anyway, expands the story and this world overall, literally. And I really liked this episode a lot. It's my second favorite overall. But man, Hayward. I'll get into Hayward later, but man, he upset me in this one as well. So in the next episode, this episode is a very middle episode for me. So this is the episode where it's revealed that Agnes is actually a witch named Agatha Harkness. I really didn't like this twist. I really did not like this twist at all because it was kind of obvious to me. Like at this point, it was kind of obvious to me. It was reaffirming it did reaffirm my suspicions, but I was hoping that Marvel would have maybe like sort of that they were sort of gonna subvert our expectations. But no, they were hinting that Agnes was the villain, and Agnes did turn out to be the villain, and that did disappoint me a little because I was hoping that they would do a subversion thing, like, ooh, maybe it's actually like Norm or something who's the villain, or something. I don't know. Like, I was hoping that they do something a little bit different, but they revealed. But I guess with Catherine Hahn being cast, I should have known that she was going to be the villain, and she was the villain. And it did upset a lot of people. And she was like, "And I killed Sparky too." Ha ha ha. I did really like though that Agatha All Along song. I thought that that was really quirky, and I love how they brought Kristen and Robert Lopez, who worked on the Coco and the first two Frozen movies. I really liked that at all. I really liked how they brought those two to write all the theme songs for the episodes. And really quickly, I really liked all of the commercials. I liked the the Stark name drops, and the especially the Yo Magic Yogurt commercial. That was really messed up. Like, dang, that was really messed up. But it was also essentially hinting it was also essentially like referencing Wanda and Pietro's really awful childhood, which they really delve into that in the episode 8. But back to episode 7, uh, it was, yeah, this was probably one of the weaker episodes for me. This is probably my second least favorite episode. None of the episodes are bad, but this one just did disappoint me a little, mostly due to that twist at the end that many of us already saw coming. Episode 8, however, episode 8 is my favorite episode of the entire show. I really liked how it delved more into the history and character, psychology, whatever, of uh, Scarlet Witch, Wanda. I really liked how it showed like her watching like sitcoms that her dad like snuck away like over the border or something so that he could watch it with his family. I really like how that bomb that ends up killing her parents and almost kills her and Pietro belongs to Stark Industries. That are referencing the first Iron Man movie. I really like this episode overall. Wanda breaking down when she sees that Vision bought her and him a house to live in. That was really heartbreaking, and then that grief motivates her to create that world. And I really like that twist that she didn't actually take Vision's body from the Shield facility. Hayward let her in, but tricked everyone just thinking that she's actually the villain when he's actually a villain. And man, this guy really pissed me off a lot. So yeah, I really liked how it delved into like her psychology and seeing that she kind of always had magical abilities, but they were just amplified by the Mind Stone. And looking at the Mind Stone, seeing herself as a Scarlet Witch, I thought that that was pretty cool. And that mid credit scene where Hayward activates the original Vision's body, I was like, ooh, that's gonna be interesting. But they didn't really do that much with that. So, but we'll get into that later. So this is my favorite episode overall. I really liked it a lot. Although that name drop at the end is like, you are the Scarlet Witch. Yeah, obviously. But I liked the episode. But I promise you, this episode is great. I like the episode overall. And the finale. So I overall throughout the show I was like, okay, this is really, I'm really enjoying this. This is a 9 out of 10 show. And I did really enjoy it overall, but the finale was pretty rushed. And in fact, it was because of the finale that I brought my rating down of the show from a 9 to an 8 out of 10. Now, I really enjoyed it overall, but the finale, they do some things that I was expecting and other things that really really disappointed me. So like it definitely felt rushed, and I was hoping that with a show like this, I really liked the style and the mood that they were going for, and that this wasn't an action centric show. But then at the end, they were like, "Oh, we'll just have a bunch of fight scenes." I did like that conversation between Vision and White Vision. I really liked that one at all. I was hoping that they would do a little bit more with him, where like I don't know, maybe giving the White Vision's body his memories. Maybe that could be the new Vision, or maybe they will do that, but they didn't just hint at it enough. But I don't know. That it disappointed me how they essentially just used uh, the White Vision that Hayward activated, just the original Vision's body, just to have him fight, fake Vision. I really didn't. I didn't like that they just used him for like a fight scene. Well, I mean, I was expecting them to use him for a fight scene, but it just wasn't executed as well as I was hoping it would be. I thought that the magic fight between Wanda and Agnes was cool, and I liked how Wanda used Agnes's tricks against her with the runes. I liked the kids how they were used, and Darcy uh, driving the van into Hayward's vehicle as he's trying to escape, and also him. He was about to shoot a child. Now I get that the kid isn't real, but still, like Hayward, what are you doing? Hayward was a pretty one-dimensional, poorly written character overall, and I wish that they did a little bit more with him than just make him be like, "Oh, I hate Wanda. Oh, I'm gonna activate the original Vision. Oh, I'm gonna shoot a child." Like they made him a bit too one-dimensionally evil. So yeah, I didn't like what they did with him at all. But I get he was a nice antagonist for a couple of the episodes, but just as an overall antagonist, I really didn't like what they did with him. I wish that they made him a bit more three-dimensional. But I did like Darcy driving the van into Hayward and being like, "You're going to prison now." I really liked sorry, not Wanda, Monica stopping the bullets and preventing the kids from being shot. But I did like how I think it's Tommy. Tommy stopped that one stray bullet. I thought that was really cool. Speaking of going back to manga though, I do wish that they hinted a little bit more at who exactly she is now and why she has all these powers. That was a little bit too vague. It was just like, oh, she entered the. I mean, they did say in a previous episode they were like, "Oh, your molecular structure is changing every time you go in. You're never going to be the same again." So I guess that is hinting at now her molecular structure has changed so much that she has these powers now, but it was still a little bit too vague for me exactly what who Monica is and what powers she has. But hopefully they'll delve into that later. So I really disliked. Speaking of manga, though, I really disliked though that they did that stupid joke at Evan Peters' expense. Pietro is actually a resident of Westview named Ralph Bonner, but she says it like Boner. That joke was really, really stupid. It was that is one of the few jokes in the show. That's probably the worst joke in the show where they were like, "Your name is Ralph Boner?" And I was like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me, really?" Like Marvel definitely has a formula, but that formula in terms of like their humor, but it works. Like the MCU was successful for a reason. Most of the jokes in most of the Marvel movies really work for me, and they're actually pretty clever and pretty clever quips. But this one was just so cringeworthy. But it's a minor issue in the finale. There are definitely bigger issues in the finale, and the biggest one is that it felt rushed. It really, really felt rushed. Yeah, this episode, I liked many moments in this episode, and I definitely understand like certain things that happens that need to happen, but it just happens too quickly in succession from one moment to the other. Again, I was hoping that, like I said before, I was hoping that in the finale they would do a sort of subversion where like it wouldn't be like a big like fight sequence, but it would be a bit more of a psychological final battle, and they did kind of do that with Wanda going into Agnes's mind, but then Agnes turning the tables on Wanda by going to memories and all that. But I mean, the fight between Wanda and Agnes I thought was cool overall. I really liked, and I almost teared up. I definitely got emotional when Wanda and Vision say goodbye and Wanda finally dismantles that world. She did get off a little bit too easily, though. Like, I do think that when she was leaving Westview, the residents of Westview, instead of just staring at her with discontentment and anger, I wish that they would have like formed a mob around her or something like, or like, and that Wanda would be tried or something. She definitely got off a little bit too easy. And Monica saying at the end, like, they'll never know what you sacrificed for them. Monica, Wanda literally took over a whole town and forced them to do stuff against their will. Like, that's really messed up. Wanda definitely got a little bit off a little bit too easy. I did like that mid-credit scene though, when Monica is approached by the scroll, and she's like, a friend of your mother's wants to meet. It's Nick Fury. It's Nick Fury. Yeah, she's Monica's gonna join Nick Fury in the Sword Base in space, and she's definitely gonna make an appearance in Captain Marvel 2, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to because Nia DaCosta's directing it, and I thought that Nia DaCosta did a pretty good job with Littlewoods, that movie with Tessa Thompson and Lily James. It's not an amazing movie, but I did like it overall. But anyways, back to WandaVision. Her going into hiding to learn about her powers, I thought was an appropriate next step for Wanda to take. And but her kids calling her for help, I was like, oh no. So her kids aren't gone. So does that mean that? But Vision's gone. Like that. That was just a little bit too like confusing for me. Uh, I am looking forward to seeing what exactly Wanda, what exactly her role will be in Doctor Strange 2. But yeah, this episode overall, I wish that it did something more like psychological instead of just a bunch of fight scenes. More of what Wanda going to Agnes's mind and less of the two visions punching each other. I really disliked that boner joke. I really what's it called? I really thought that the finale was rushed, but many moments of what happens did need to happen. Like Wanda dismantling that world and that make-cred scene with Monica. I liked those moments, but overall the finale did disappoint me slightly, and it did bring down my rating of the overall show from a 9 to an 8 out of 10. But overall, I really liked it. This was a pretty impressive start to Disney Plus, to the Marvel presence on Disney Plus, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the Falcon and Winter Soldier 1 week from today. And I want to thank you all for listening to another episode of my podcast, Podcast Racing. I hope all of you are doing well out there. Please let me know what you guys thought of WandaVision and if you're excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.